Police officers and criminals inhabit the same dark world of scams and schemes. But what happens when the line blurs between the cops and the robbers? Medford, Massachusetts was a quaint bedroom community outside Boston. Medford was a quiet town, immune from big city crime. But one night in 1960, that small town's silence was shattered by gunfire.
1054,
Jerry Clementi and his partner rushed to the scene of an armed robbery at a local liquor store. Although he was still a rookie, Clementi was determined not to let the robbers get away.
Open the door slowly. So hands out. Both. Both hands out. Get down. Spread them
He
arms.
risked his own life to protect his partner and bring the thieves to justice.
Got him secured.
The mayor of Medford awarded Clementi the coveted Medal of Honor. As a hometown hero, his career advanced quickly. Officer Dan Gately worked with Clementi.
He had a lot of people that he knew and he was friendly with. And he was a well-liked person. A lot of guys liked him. But then again, they didn't know him.
Can I get you anything else?
No, thank you. 3 years? Is that right?
To know him was to know that he liked the perks that came along with being a cop.
Yep, that's for me. Yep. Take a look at that.
After several years on the force, he began to bend the rules.
Wow. Quantum Pro 1404. Thanks. A lot more stuff. Well, that can probably. Hey, I appreciate it. That's a little something.
Whenever Clementi and his fellow cops investigated a store robbery, they helped themselves to the merchandise.
Well, she always has seafood. How's Lewis? Or Lewis?
Exploiting a corrupt network of cops,
Hey, Ed, what's up?
Clementi used his influence and power to get what he wanted at a very young age. He rose quickly through the ranks.
Clementi is a captain. When the captain came on the scene, it was quite a thing because you have a captain out there with you. They looked up to him. So if he said to do this or do that, they'd try to do him a favor in a minute.
The favor Clementi most appreciated was to be let in on a scam.
You guys up to? Place I was talking to you about. What do you think, Jerry?
In late 1979, Sergeant Joe Bangs brought up the idea of burglarizing a television store.
Kind of thing. Figure maybe $10,000.
But to Clementi, the heist was too small to justify the risk. Boston Globe reporter Paul Langner.
Jerry Clementi must be given credit for a vision. He said, my God, if you're going to do that kind of high-tech bypassing of a burglar alarm, let's not bother with the dinky television store. Let's go for something really big.
Clementi had his eye on the Depositors Trust Company, a small-town bank with a vault full of safe deposit boxes. As far as Clementi was concerned, there was but one obstacle standing between him and untold wealth. A 12-inch thick metal door.
They were very bold and arrogant. They've been getting away with a lot of things for a long time. And, they just had the feeling that they couldn't be caught.
As cops, Clementi and Bangs knew every crook in town.
Just you have everything together? Working on it. Just going to make plans.
Along with fellow officer Tom Doherty, they recruited two of the best safecrackers in the business. The men thought the vault door was impossible to crack. Clementi was determined to find another way in.
We're lucky if we robbed at 10 grand each. For what?
The gang learned everything they could about the layout of the vault. Posing as a customer, Doherty measured the room and noted every detail. Clementi wanted to move fast. He brought on another experienced safecracker.
Taking care of the explosion.
The gang was now made up of 3 cops and 3 robbers.
Back here. We're gonna have our walk.
Since breaking through the vault door was impossible, they needed an alternate point of entry.
Once they close.
Blueprints revealed they could gain access to the ceiling of the vault via the optical shop next door. The ceiling was constructed of reinforced concrete and was 2 feet thick. The plan was ambitious and risky, but Clementi figured it was worth it.
Hey.
Clementi chose the Memorial Day weekend for the heist.
Hit the road.
The bank would be closed for 3 days, giving them plenty of time to stash the loot before the robbery was even discovered. A consummate planner, Clementi set up his alibi beforehand. He assigned himself to work overtime at the town carnival. That way, he could work a few hours and slip away unnoticed. On Saturday night, Clementi set his plan in motion. As a police officer, he knew the optical shop was not protected by an alarm. After midnight on Sunday morning, Clementi led his men in the back door. If everything went according to plan, they would be rich men in 3 short hours. While Clementi was playing robber, his friend Doherty was playing cop. From his position outside the bank, he could monitor his police radio to warn the gang in case they were detected.
Doherty was actually the shift commander in Medford on the night of the burglary. And he had directed patrols to other ends of the city and away from Medford Square and away from the Depositors Trust Bank.
They headed for the loft of the optical shop. From here, they could drill directly into the ceiling of the vault. Outside, Doherty couldn't hear the drilling. In under an hour, they were through the first wall. Then, Clementi heard voices. The men froze, fearing the worst. Just as Clementi and his gang were about to break through the ceiling of the vault, they heard voices. Concerned, Doherty went to investigate. He found the owners of the ice cream parlor on the other side of the bank. The couple were doing inventory.
Break into the area, probably be a good idea to go ahead and pack it up for the evening. Okay?
Lieutenant Doherty told them to leave. There had been break-ins in the area, and it wasn't safe.
Okay, good night, folks. Okay, everything's good.
Once they were gone, he radioed the gang to resume work. But once again, the plan faltered. Their tools hadn't even dented the vault ceiling. They would have to resort to something more powerful. Clementi radioed Doherty there was going to be an explosion. He knew that was sure to draw attention. They had to risk it.
The first time it didn't go through, so they put in a stronger stick, a full stick, I guess. And this time it went through, and the 2 blasts failed to generate a single call to the Medford police station.
Now nothing stood between them and all the money they'd ever dreamed of. The men systematically raided the vault. But they had lost precious time. After only an hour inside the vault, Clementi told his men it was time to go. They had to leave the bank before dawn to avoid being seen.
Get the tools together.
The robbers slipped out the back of the optical shop as silently as they had entered. In one night's work, they had taken over $300,000. It was more money than the men had seen in nearly 15 years of petty thefts. But they realized they had left so much behind. They had cracked only a fraction of the 1,000 safety deposit boxes.
Be careful with these things here.
Let's go, guys. Let's get this.
They decided to go back for more. On Sunday, the men made sure they were seen around town.
That's why I told you I don't want him out all the time.
They were careful not to stray from their routines.
Maybe we can, who knows,
Until it was time to spring into action. It was after midnight when the gang went back to the bank a second time. Fueled by their greed, they worked with assembly line efficiency. Again, they ran out of time. Before they knew it, dawn was breaking, and it was time to go. Although they had only cracked half the boxes, the heist was enormous. And still, it was not enough. They had to make one last trip before the bank opened on Tuesday morning. After 3 nights of work, they were all rich men. The men divided up the cash.
We did all right.
Bangs would fence the jewelry once the heat died down. On May 27, 1980, the employees at the Depositors Trust Company returned to work. They were in for the surprise of their lives. Soon, the bank was swarming with detectives. Ironically, Thomas Doherty was one of the officers who worked the scene. The sheer volume of the heist made police suspect that the thieves had been inside the bank for several days. Next door, the owner of the optical shop led investigators to the gaping hole he had discovered.
We knew that it happened over the Memorial Day weekend, but we didn't know whether it was 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, etc. There was a lot of work to be done. There were a lot more people to talk to.
The FBI questioned anyone who might have seen anything. The couple from the ice cream parlor told the agents about the police officer who warned them to leave their shop. Unfortunately, they could not recall the officer's name. Investigators checked the weekend patrol schedule at the Medford police station.
There's one other, the new guy that came in. He rode with us that night.
There was no record of the encounter.
We met in the police academy.
At 9 a.m., the bank failed to open. Crowds gathered outside. Anxious customers were told to return the next day to be interviewed by police. Investigators had no idea how much had been taken. They would first have to obtain inventories from the box holders. At the bank, hundreds of anxious customers lined up to describe their losses to police. They learned they would never recover what had been taken. The bank did not insure the contents of safe deposit boxes. The estimates of the heist soared as pressure grew to solve the crime. Police felt helpless.
Well, it was certainly frustrating for us as police officers, as investigators, because we weren't getting anywhere. We had no physical evidence at the time of the crime of Depositors Trust.
Okay, let's take all this.
Investigators desperately needed a breakthrough in what was beginning to look like the perfect crime.
Okay.
In the days following the Depositors Trust robbery, authorities realized they were dealing with the biggest theft in Massachusetts history. Clementi and his gang stayed cool. The cops went back to being police officers, and the robbers laid low.
They came right down through the vault.
Clementi stayed with the force, and Tommy Doherty stayed with the Medford force. They did something which was clever in that they agreed not to be too ostentatious about their spending.
Clementi put a down payment on a modest timeshare condo, and other gang members began spending their share of the loot a little bit at a time.
Okay, so you'll get...
But it was too late. They had already attracted attention. A week after the heist, an anonymous tip cast suspicion on Jerry Clementi and Thomas Doherty.
I think it was Clemente. I know Clemente was...
Investigators were stunned. If they couldn't trust two veteran police officers, they couldn't trust anyone on the force.
We kept it right to a small few in our own office, a very small few in the Medford Police Department. And that was it. I mean, we operated cloak and dagger. I mean, we were very, very secretive about everything.
Despite Clementi's distinguished police record, investigators paid him a visit.
What's up? I want to ask you a few
He told them he knew nothing about the break-in and named several police officers who provided him with alibis.
Hey, take care.
Police then questioned Thomas Doherty. He told them they would need a warrant to enter his house.
No problem.
Although they were suspicious of Clementi and Doherty, they had no evidence to hand the DA. The case went cold.
Take a look at these, will you, please? Thank you. Yeah.
It was becoming clear if they were ever going to solve this crime, they would have to use a different approach.
The investigation itself was not going anywhere fast, and we needed a break. We knew we needed a break, and over the next couple of years that followed, we tried to force that break by following people, putting pressure on people, that type of thing.
Yeah, maybe you want to go to prison too, right?
Clementi tried to keep his gang together, but 4 years of police pressure took its toll. Doherty and Bangs began using and then dealing drugs. Before long, they were bitter enemies. Finally, investigators got the break they had been waiting for. Sergeant Joseph Bangs was ambushed and shot in a garage. He was rushed to a local hospital. As police investigated the incident, they searched his house and car. They found a briefcase full of jewelry and $10,000 in Canadian cash. Police suspected the attempt on Bang's life was tied to the depositor's trust heist. When Bangs recovered, he named his shooter. Lieutenant Thomas Doherty was arrested and charged with attempted murder.
Next door.
At Doherty's trial, Bangs blew the case wide open.
Allowed us in, broke into the alarm system, disarmed the alarm system, and Clemente let us
Prosecutors asked where he'd gotten the jewelry.
set the fuse. Your Honor, at the time, it goes back a lot further than that.
Bangs responded that it was part of the depositor's trust heist. In exchange for immunity, Bangs agreed to give investigators all the details they needed.
That's right, 3 of us.
Captain Jerry Clementi received 30 to 40 years in prison for his part in the theft. He was paroled in 2000. Lieutenant Thomas Doherty got 18 to 20 and is still serving time. The rest of the gang got 10 to 15 for their part in the robbery.
But when a police officer's out there acting as a criminal, we don't have any tolerance for that. These were guys that were criminals masquerading as cops.
Joseph Bangs entered the witness protection program and now lives under an assumed identity.